by understand the words of the Quran. Ya ayyuhal insan, ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. O insan, how can you leave your merciful Rabb? O insan, how can you leave your merciful Rabb? At this moment in time, we have to discuss this also, that we going into the silly season where mature people become immature. Where mature people become immature. So the demand is that we stay away from temptations. We stay away from sins. Now, a very simple definition of transgression, of disobedience, of sin, is that we do any act contrary to the order of Allah. That is a simple definition of sin. So the requirement is that we have to stay within the limits of Sharia. Simple. So that is what is required of us. Now, Islam is very unique in that you find a person who follows his deen will always be occupied in the remembrance of Allah. A person who follows his deen will always be occupied in the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala. Now, because of the onset of holidays, that it is imperative that we discuss the Islamic perspective with regard to spare time. Now you find that how do we define holidays? Now you find, according to the dictionary, Hafiz has to start look for meanings also. So it is an extended period of recreation. That's how you define holidays. It is an extended period of recreation, vacation. So you find that the holiday season is used to relax and to engage in activities which goes against the normal lifestyle. This is the definition of holidays of the kuffar. That means their definition of a holiday is to rebel against the norm. Is to rebel against the norm. So because the kuffar system does not allow the proper recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the behavioral pattern is that of rebellion. So now that is why we notice a drastic increase in criminal activities in this season. And this is the way of the heedless. This is the way of the heedless. What is the view of Islam? The view of Islam is we normally define our holidays, our spare times, and we find our spare time and our holidays also we regard as the days of Jumu'ah, and the days of Eid. But what was the habit of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam in our holidays? Very simple. He made it holy days. He made it holy days. So you find that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he exerted himself on these days to earn the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. And this is the message of Islam. You find, what are we exhorted to do on a Friday? To recite Surah Kahf. This is over and above the normal surahs that we recite every day. We are exhorted to recite extra Durood Sharif. So this is, and then you find on the night of the two Eids, there's supposed to be a holiday, but then we are told in the Hadith Sharif also that person who exerts himself on these two nights also, then his heart won't die when the hearts of the people will be dead. This is how we are told to actually look after our holidays. So then the thing is now with regard to the festive season and the imitation of the kuffar, we have to be extremely careful. We have to be extremely careful. Now, we have those that have got taluk with us. We have discussed this also, but we are just revising our lessons. You find that Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah has also mentioned this. He said there was an incident of a person who, on the Hindu festival of Holi, right, he saw everything colored. Everything is colored. Everything is colored. People are colored. All the things. So he sees this person. He was an abid, but he was not an arif. He was a worshipper, but he was not the one who recognized Allah. So you find that he looked at everything is colored, and then he noticed a stray donkey. He had pan in his mouth also. So then he in jest. And this is what we must make dua unto Allah. Really, even if it is in our own language every day, Allah, you don't take us to task for anything that we have done which we considered insignificant. So, in a moment of jest, in a moment of negligence, in a moment of heedlessness, in a moment of having fun. So what did he do? He looked at this donkey, the stray donkey, and he spat on this donkey. The pond, he spat on the donkey. He said, Chalo, you know what? Nobody has colored you, let me too color you. He passed away. When he passed away, because of his exertions in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah mentioned that his grave was that of comfort, but there was a snake around his tongue. There was a snake around his tongue. Now, what has happened? He says, I'm in big problems. Even if a person can be reclining on the best of sofas also, but if he's got a taklif on his tongue, he can't even think straight. So this was the punishment he was experiencing in the qabr. That outwardly he was perceiving comfort because of the various ibadat that he done. But that one moment of negligence, you had a small snake coiled around his tongue and biting him. Why? You say, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah explains, why did you contribute to the system of the kuffar? Why did you contribute to the system of the kuffar? We find at this moment in time, especially in this season, we start emulating the kuffar in our dressing. We identify with their behavior. We actually start involving ourselves in their queer habits. Amongst the plans of the kuffar, I think is very important, that they plan to deviate us. They plan to deviate us as the ummah of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Some of the activities they plan, you find, especially in our holiday season, make maaf also, it is something that is a reality. So many of us, so many Muslims, they consume haram food. And that stomach that is nourished with haram also, how is it possible for that body that is nourished with haram to act halal? Amongst the other ways is that the kuffar have tried to bombard us also with regard to our dressing. So you find that whereas a person normally wears normal clothing, even dindar clothing also, in the holidays he'll wear short pants. And you find that his family they'll abandon the laws of hijab or even normal attire also, and they'll actually wear tight clothing also and expose expose themselves to all and sundry. Then we have another great cancer-like thing which we have succumbed to. And the kuffar promote free thinking. By we as believers, we are not free. We are answerable to Allah. We are not free. We are answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't do what we like. We have to do what has been prescribed by Allah. We have to do what we have prescribed. Then the other thing also, Allah Pak save us. We start opposing the ulama. Hey, this ulama are making life heavy for us, man. They're just creating unnecessary obstacles. Now you must remember, the ulama, they're not there to actually make life difficult for you. They are merely actually sharing, what is the demand of Shariat. But one very important thing, and it is very important that we also take cognizance of this fact. Who are the ulama? The ulama are the staff of Allah. The ulama are the staff of Allah. अगर आप उलमा को छेड़ेंगे तो अल्लाह ताला आपको नहीं छोड़ेंगे. If you decide to interfere with Allah and do this with the staff of Allah, Allah Ta'ala is not going to leave you. You're going to be taken to task. I'm just giving you something in brief also, just so that we can discuss as much as possible. Then we find the other thing that is promoted in this time is disunity. Hey, everybody becomes a mufti. Everybody decides, wants to have his own say. Even at the expense of conventional thinking. So these are some of the modus operandi of the kuffar. Now there's another thing also, and if we look at it also, there's another great thing that's actually sticking out like a sore thumb. we find that our parents, I always mention one thing also. We haven't got problem children, we got problem parents. We haven't got problem children, we got problem parents. And you find that the parents, they are promoting the spiritual disease of miserliness in our children. They are promoting the spiritual disease of miserliness. They don't want the children to progress towards Allah. How? We give a simple example, and we can all identify with this. When the need is there to become more firm on the institution of Salah, then we have common excuses. No, leave him, man. He's still small. He's still small. No, he played football in school. He's so tired. Leave him. Arey bhai, what are you doing? You patterning a path of destruction. You patterning a path towards Jahannam. One salah missed, we had discussed last night also. One salah missed is as if you've lost your entire wealth and your family with all its contents. Hazrat Thani Rahmatullah Alayhi has actually mentioned, he says, our attitude and the manner in which we carry on, with regard to our children, we are like butchers. We fatten our children like sheep and then slaughter them and send them to Jahannam. Allahu Akbar. We say we want to pass time in our holidays. Yes, we're passing time, but we're failing in the Akhirah. We're passing time, but we are failing in the Akhirah. Now, let us carefully analyze also, what is the system of holidays? If a person develops the consciousness of Allah, and he develops the aspect of answerability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find that holidays give testimony to the temporary nature of this world and the everlasting life of the Akhirah. Now when we go for holiday also, then we will actually make sure that we won't take our whole house with us. We'll just take things that are necessary. So even if you go to holiday for a holiday, we will relax. But after we finish, we're going to get absorbed in our work and our busy, hectic schedule. We'll forget that we even had a holiday. We'll forget that we even had a holiday. So have we reminded ourselves and our children of our impending death? Please remember that death is something that is a reality, and we need to remind ourselves and our children with regard to the certainty of death. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised the Sahaba Kiram, keep death very much in your remembrance, for verily it strengthens the heart of man and makes it easier for him to face death. So this was a noble habit of our pious, and this checked their habits and enabled them to exert themselves towards devotion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Ibrahim Taimi Rahmatullah Alayhi has said that the fear of death and reckoning before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had caused him to turn away from this world. This is simple. We want to know a shortcut to the obedience of Allah Ta'ala. Think of the temporary nature of the world and the certainty that we are going to depart from this world. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.